this is how negotiation works. So this tweet right here, this Andrew Marchand tweet, I think it is important. We need to pay attention to it. But do I think it's the end-all, be-all that the Pac-12 is screwed and all the teams are going to leave the Pac-12 and everybody's going to join the Big 12 and the Big 10? No. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football, back at it again. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things EA college football, subscribe to this channel right now. I also do plenty of college football videos and some pro and Madden videos as well. Please subscribe, okay? It's not going to cost you anything. All it's going to cost you is being up to date on everything EA college football and seeing plenty of college football videos, as well as some Madden and some pro videos as well. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all those things. Hit it right now. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, guys, so here we are. We are heading into the weekend. We got some games going on. The Chiefs and the Chargers just got done over where I'm watching right now, and the Chiefs were able to pull that victory out. But I want to talk about an article that came out recently because there was a tweet that was very, very insightful. Because remember, conference realignment has calmed for the most part, but there is several things that are happening right now that are kind of falling into conference realignment, or at least setting things up. It's almost like if you ever watch Game of Thrones or something like that, or one of those big series, they have these seasons where not a lot of things happen, but little small things happen here. What they call it is a setup season, where it's like, yeah, you know, we weren't able to fit as much stuff into season this as the next season or as the season before, but what this season was doing was setting up the next stuff. One of those things that's part of that setup is this tweet right here. So boom, here we are with Andrew Marchand. It says, clip, ESPN and the Pac-12 are hundreds of millions apart on a new deal, I'm told. That's what he says right here. I'm not going to play it just because I don't really know. But remember here that the Big Ten recently backed away from ESPN. Not in it completely, but in certain instances they did. That being said, ESPN now is flush with cash, lots and lots of network coverage or network time that they need to fill, a lot of time slots they need to fill, so they are flush with cash. However, even with that, they are basically saying, well, I think that they're hundreds of millions of dollars apart. Now, what's interesting here is if you play this clip, he's going to say, I think the Pac-12 ESPN, not even close. Millions apart, hundreds of millions apart. Now, I don't know if it's think about the Pac-12, they're hundreds of millions apart, or I think that the Pac-12 is hundreds of millions apart. That's not really clear here, but basically what he's saying is that from what he understands and or from what he's inferring, they're not necessarily close on that deal. So that could appear in many different ways, but I do know that the Pac-12 is millions and or potentially hundreds of millions apart from ESPN in this situation. We also know they just lost USC, they just lost UCLA, and it's not looking great for them right now. There's also some rumors that the four corner schools are going to go over to the Big 12, something like that. There's lots of little things happening right now. So the Pac-12 has definitely got their backs against the wall right here. And they really need to start to address some certain things because, again, like the title of the video says, I think that they are stronger than you think they are, but they're not as strong as they think they are. And again, they keep on doing small situations like this. So this was a big one right here that I saw a lot of message boards and things like that basically really, really didn't like the situation. Huge USC Oregon State game on September 24th is relegated to the Pac-12 network. And I'm telling you, Trojans Wire was not happy about this at all. On Monday, something happened which reminded us all in the Pac-12 conference footprint that George Kliavkoff had no chance to prevent USC from leaving for the Big Ten. He really didn't. There was so much damage, so many contractual knots to untie that Kliavkoff could not have been reasonably expected to unwind them in 1 year, yet 1 year is all Kliavkoff had before USC left for the Big Ten. 1 year was simply not long enough for Kliavkoff to keep USC in the fold. He needed at least a 2-year window, probably 3, and he didn't have that amount of time. What did happen on Monday, you ask? Here you go. The USC-Oregon State game. By the way, as long as USC handles Fresno State, still a good team, and Oregon State handles Montana State, both teams we head into that game undefeated. That game is on September 24th. A huge game in the Pac-12 title chase has been relegated to the Pac-12 network. It's true. This huge game for both teams has been kicked to the lowest visibility television outlet. Think about that. These are two undefeated teams, or at least we anticipate that USC is going to be, and that Oregon State has a high probability of. I love my Montana State Bobcats, okay? They were in the national championship last year. Got annihilated. But remember, they were there. But a lot of USC fans with DirecTV will not be able to watch this game. And again, this comes back to Larry Scott and the conference and this and that. I want to make sure that, and to be fair, and they actually give a couple reasoning down here. John Wilner says USC must appear on the Pac-12 network 3 times. They've already appeared once, including Rice. And then ESPN Fox want access to the big games later. Colorado's not an option for the Pac-12 network because of Friday KO. I'm guessing that means that when they're Friday when they got knocked out by TCU. But in essence, what they're saying is that they're contractually required to do this certain situation. That situation means that you have to take right now, I don't want to say the front runner in the Pac-12 North, but a definite dark horse for the conference in Oregon State, and USC undefeated. Remember, last year Oregon State went down to USC, had a big victory, ran all up and down the field on them. Those two teams are going to hit. It's going to have a different feel to it because I think Lincoln Riley has really, really addressed that offense. Whether or not they're physical enough on defense to handle that game, I don't know. I also recently heard that Luke Musgrave, the really, really talented tight end, might miss this game. But this is just one of those examples where the Pac-12 has, USC, UCLA leaving. They're still working through these stupid kinks with the Pac-12 network, which is the ultimate drain. I mean, it's absolutely just destroying this conference. They're definitely not as strong as you would believe they are. Remember here, ESPN had an exclusive 30-day window with the Pac-12 network, and they let it expire. Remember, this is all the way back July 5th, 2022. Indications are that Pac-12 will begin an exclusive 30-day negotiation window with ESPN and Fox. Other bidders can then weigh in after that deal if a deal isn't done. And a deal isn't done. And honestly, it sounds like ESPN's kind of like, that's a little too expensive for our tastes. So I want to make sure that we're clear on that. It sounds like, the Pac-12 is just Kliavkoff, dude. If he is able to keep this thing together, he is the conference commissioner of the decade, because Larry Scott is not the conference commissioner of the decade. Now, I say all of that to say this, and I want to especially speak to a lot of Big 12 fans of mine. I know that on this channel, there's a lot of Big 12 fans. I have immense respect for you Big 12 fans. However, I want you to make sure you understand something. I believe that the Pac-12, like the title says, the Pac-12 is not as strong as they think they are. But it's a lot stronger than I think you all think it is. This is a tweet from Bob Thompson. He kind of threw a wet towel on this situation here. He says, have to think. Remember, again, ESPN and Pac-12 are hundreds of millions apart. He responds, have to think this was an ESPN leak intended to send a message to the Pac-12. And again, retired president of Fox Sports Network and Fox Sports International. He says it was a leak intended to send a message to the Pac-12 and Big 12. The message for the Pac-12 is, you're asking way too much over the term, so we're hundreds of millions apart. For the Big 12, it is, we'll be chatting with you soon. So, yeah, remember, this happens all the time. I mean, as an example, there was a leak out recently, a report I had from James Jones, and I actually had a video on it, that said that Kyler Murray is going to leave the Arizona Cardinals. It was a contract negotiation, okay? But remember, if you can't negotiate, then you are a slave. If you cannot walk away from the table, then you can't actually negotiate. What I think ESPN is doing here is being like, well, you might walk away from the table. You might walk away from the table. And they're doing that to try to potentially bring the price down or get some sort of concessions or things like that. This is how negotiation works. So this tweet right here, this Andrew Marchand tweet, I think it is important. We need to pay attention to it. But do I think it's the end-all be-all that the Pac-12 is screwed and all the teams are going to leave the Pac-12 and everybody's going to join the Big 12 and the Big 10? No. Remember here, let's just make sure that we are 100% clear. And I love my Big 12 fans, okay? The SEC and the Big 10 don't want any, or not even rumored to want any Big 12 teams. This right here is a report that the Big 10 is interested in 5. Notre Dame, and then Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and California. So let's just make sure we're clear about that, okay? That's who they want. That's who they're interested in. I do think that Ohio State has thrown a wrench into the situation. They have definitely thrown a wrench into that situation because they're like, why are we expanding? What are we doing here? Technically, we're going to take a loss if we add Oregon and Washington into the conference. So that is very true. But let's just make sure we're clear. Nobody's rumored to have Oklahoma State or Iowa State or Kansas or UCF or West Virginia or Cincinnati or Baylor or Texas Tech. They're not rumored at all to the SEC or the Big 10. These teams are. These teams are in the Pac-12. And speaking of the Pac-12, there's a couple things we have to remember here is that they're millions apart potentially with their partners, but they have different partners they might go to. Pac-12 is reportedly taking a rights deal with Amazon under consideration. Pac-12 and Amazon. In Mercury News, John Wilner wrote about the conference with Amazon, noting he was told by a source that conferences Commissioner George Kliavkoff is focused on digital. And again, I have been saying this for weeks here. As people cut the cord, as more and more people cut the cord, where you are doesn't mean a lot, or doesn't mean as much, because all you need to do, I mean, remember, your local channels on YouTube TV, maybe, I sort of, but he said right here, a sentiment Kliavkoff himself admitted in July during the Pac-12 Media Days that, remember, they are focused on digital. So ESPN is going out of the negotiation, or at least backing away. Amazon is coming in. It does not sound like, and I'm telling you right now, Amazon's got money to burn. They got money to burn. DirecTV had actually lost a lot of money on NFL Sunday Ticket, so they're kind of backing away. But trust me, people are going to fill that in. The NFL doesn't have to worry about somebody not buying Sunday Ticket, just like I think the Pac-12 doesn't have to worry about somebody throwing hundreds of millions at their conference games. There are a lot of really good universities in the Big 12. There are a lot of really good universities around there and things like that. But I just want to make sure we're clear that the SEC and even the Big 10 can't really hold a candle to the Pac-12 schools in terms of academic prestige. 2022, again, this is U.S. news, so I might be biased towards American universities, but 2022 Best Global Universities ranking. They have a couple scores here. Number 1, Harvard, okay, 100 score. Number 2, MIT. Number 3, Stanford. Number 4, UC Berkeley. Number 5 is Oxford, again, 1,000-year-old school, almost 1,000 years old school. Columbia, a Ivy League school. Number 6, and then number 7, University of Washington. So apparently the conference that's going to fall apart, that has 3 of the top 7 universities in the country, on the globe, in the entire world, is on the fringe of collapse. It is if Big Ten teams take them away. If Big Ten teams don't take them away, I think the Pac-12 is going to survive, and I think they're pretty strong. And I actually think, I'm telling you right now, I know this sounds crazy, but if I had to bet, I'm telling you right now, if I had to bet, if the Pac-12 could take Big 12, or Pac-12 could take Big 12 schools, or the Big 12 could take Pac-12 schools, I bet on the first option. I bet that if Texas Tech said, hey, can we be at the seat? Can we be at the same table as UC Berkeley and Stanford and Washington? I think they might take it. Oklahoma State too, something like that. Maybe even TCU. That's where I'm at. But again, if you disagree with me, get in the comments and let me know what you think. Trust me, I've had to deal out here. I'm out west. I've had to deal with plenty of Pac-12 arrogance. I get it. I do think that they're not nearly as strong or as secure as they think they are. But I think they're a lot more secure than reports that they're hundreds of millions apart and everything's going to just collapse in 5 seconds. I think that they can both be true at the same time. But again, you guys tell me what you think in the comments right now. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. I am out.